All right. Long time coming. Long time coming, Rob. It's
What
been a
has it?
while since we've had the time to hop on here and talk about things.
No better
Um,
time to hop back on.
no better time to hop back on. I mean, what a great 4 days we're going to have in front of us with Waste Management Open, which is, some could say, the most exciting tournament of the year. And then the Super Bowl brought to you by our beloved Eagles. So, with that being said, let's dive into the Waste Management Open real fast, briefly. I want us to talk about our haves and have nots in this tournament. Who do you like? Who do you love?
So I'm going to get the auto bet out of the way. I cannot stay away from Hideki Matsuyama at the waste management.
You can't.
The guy has not finished worse than 16th here. It's just one of those auto bet plays for me. I have him at top 10 right now, plus 320. I think it's a terrible number in the interest of full disclosure. Like I said, though, it's just an auto bet for me. I expect Matsuyama to contend every year at the waste management. He loves the course. Um, he leads the field in stroke gained at waste management with 33 rounds, and he's trending on the positive side now. So it's an auto bet for me. It's one of my I have to bet. Otherwise, there's a couple guys here and there I like to have strong finishing positions. I got a couple of guys lined up. Otherwise, outright, my middle tier guy is going to be Tommy Kim. I like Tommy Kim. I like the way he's first gone this year. I think he's playing really well. The guy can fucking strike the ball, and obviously that's the most important thing nearly at every golf course, including waste management. I like the way he's trending. I like his numbers, and at 28 to one, I just think that's a really good number for him in this tournament. And then I'm gonna tap my outright with McIlroy. I mentioned before we jumped on, so DraftKings is running plus 250 to any outright golfer on the waste management. I use that to bring McIlroy from 850 to 11 to one. The way I see that a boost like that, it's only worth adding it to short golfers. That's probably what they want you to do, but that's where you're getting the most value on a boost like that.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was narrowed down between him and Rom. And I mean, Rom is also Rom is lights out at this course, and he's lights out right now. Um, but for whatever reason, I just from my gut play, I wound up with on the McElroy side of that coin. So I took McElroy with that boost.
We need John Rahm to start losing golf tournaments.
He's winning a lot.
Not to be a hater, but it's like he is fucking up the numbers for everybody.
I mean, what was he opened up the other week at like plus 400?
Four
What was it? PGA
hundred to
West?
win it.
I think it was no PGA West tournament.
That's
Yeah,
insanity.
no, unbelievable, unbelievable.
You're
I mean, the
not
guy's playing great.
you're not the only one that's brought up Tommy Kim. Um, the only reason I'm not betting him, there's 5 guys on my do not bet list this week: Xander Schauffele, Justin Thomas, Colin, Tom Kim, and Rom. All the majority of the handle for all the books are on those 5 guys. So I'm avoiding them. But the thing I don't like right now is the models that I'm running. There's not enough information from this current golf season that a lot of these guys are popping up on all those models. Typically, I can find a couple guys here and there that differentiate myself from the rest of the pack, because the first thing that we do is go through is who are all the experts picking to win this tournament.
Don't be
Instantly,
sad.
instantly fading. Um, with that being said, there is a guy that's popped up on a couple. I'm backing Scotty Scheffler at 13 to 1.
Okay.
I think there's definitely a good possibility that
Quiet.
he can.
Yeah, it's a good point. He's a quiet favorite this week.
Yeah, quiet favorite. I mean, people forget that this tournament was the one that jumped him onto the scene last year. We were on him last year, so I don't want to miss that gravy train at all. Middle pack guy that I'm getting a little bit of love from is Keith Mitchell,
Yeah.
65 to 1. I like him.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I want you to keep going, but I got something for you for Keith Mitchell.
Okay. My dark horse in this race, and it's really, he only popped up on 2 of the models that I ran, but I just think if there's one guy that can hone in a laser focus that could block out the sun that is the Waste Management Open and be unfazed if he gets hot, is Siwoo Kim. I got him at 100-1. I'm putting half a unit on him. And it's a shot in the dark. I don't care. I just got a good feeling in my bones about it. My last guy is Cam Young. Throwing a full unit on Cam Young. The numbers add up a little bit. I said to somebody earlier, they were asking who I wanted to back, and I wanted to back someone that is projected to come onto the scene. Like this tournament, like Tom Kim, for example, one of those guys. Like this tournament is one of those that can just like catapult you into the major golf conversations throughout the rest of the year. That's my take on the Waste Management Open. Great tournament. And those four guys, and I just can't back Tom Kim because I'm worried about the hype built up around this guy without him doing anything on the tour yet. Does that worry you?
No, I think it's only a matter of time for a guy like Tom Kim. Like I said, just his ball striking numbers have just been absurd this year. And a couple of other stats that I think will help him out here, whether it's the chances that he gains on the green. I think if his putter's working for him, he is a guy that is ready to contend. And also, like we talk about this all the time with tournaments like this, where you have a strong field, right? That 20 to 30 to 1 range, you can find a lot of value. And in that range, we were talking about, the models that we run. I got Kim at 6 there. But of my top 10, he provides the most value at 30 to 1 on Bet365, 28 to 1 on DraftKings. Shop around, but I like him at that number, just where he falls out. To your benefit, one of the top guys in my mind, Scotty Scheffler. One of the top favorites there. I got Rahm, Finau, Scheffler, Cantley, Morikawa, Kim, McIlroy, and your boy Young rounding out 9. So, a lot of those guys fit the mold for what I'm looking for in this tournament. Strokes gained, how you're performing off the tee, and then how they're putting, particularly on like a firm positive kind of course like Waste Management. Those are the kind of numbers I'm looking at. And a lot of the guys that you're mentioning, the guys that I'm playing, are popping up on some of those models based on those stats.
At least now, because remember we talked about it the first couple tournaments, like Tommy Kim was priced ridiculously. At least that's a more fair number than we've been given with him. Granted, the field is loaded, so that plays a huge factor. I mean, and there's so many good golfers here. It is really hard to decipher, like, who do you think is going to take that jump? Who's played really well here throughout their career? Like, there's a couple guys that, like, I just can't back that I really want to. Like Xander Schauffele, for example, numero uno. That guy always plays well here. But the fact that everybody else is on to him, I can't put my money on him.
So you brought up Schauffele earlier on the DNB list, and you hit the nail on the head, dude. Schauffele's coming in at 2.5 strokes gained on the field in this tournament alone. He's 2.39 in his last 20 rounds. I got a list of 4 guys for you and for the people, doing a little homework for the people, right? Like, help them out. Matsuyama, we already mentioned, owns this course at 2.5 strokes, 33 rounds. X has 20 rounds here at 2.5. Rahm 28 rounds, 2.25 strokes gained. JT at 28 rounds, 2 strokes gained on the field. X and Rahm are also absolutely crushing it in total strokes gained over their last 20 rounds. So X and Rahm are matching up very well from both a course history and a current form perspective. But similar to your reasons, just the numbers with those 2 guys, I just don't see a whole lot of value.
No, I have to pass on them. Is there anything else that you wanted to add about this? And are we ready to talk about football?
I'll give you a couple more quick hitters. You mentioned Keith Mitchell earlier. I think Keith Mitchell is an absolute play on his DraftKings tournament matchup against one of the guys that we follow, Sahith Theegala. They are both at an even -110 on their tournament matchup. I like Mitchell over Theegala in the tournament-wide matchup. I think that's the play, especially now that I know that you like Mitchell as well. That makes me feel better about it. I got a couple other guys I like at top 20 I'll throw out there. Jonathan Vegas. I know we were on him a couple of weeks ago out west. I like the way that he is able to just grab birdies in bunches. Like he's that kind of guy where he gets hot, he can rattle them off. I think that bodes well for this tournament. I am on the postman this week as well. I like JT Poston both top 10, a little sprinkle on the top 5, and I'm going to round it out with Brian Harmon in the top 20 as well. So those are 3 other middle to long shot guys that I like to finish strong.
I just want you to know, and I think this is just like a testament to our knowledge, what few viewers that we do get, a few of them were like, yo, where are the golf picks? So people are jonesing for the picks. And I did a little extra homework for the people. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if it wasn't for a Chris Kirk, dead heat first round lead early in the beginning part of the season,
90 to 1.
We don't have much to show for it. We don't have much to show for it, so we got to put together a good card today.
We're only in Arizona, baby. We're only in Arizona. We were fortunate enough last year to get a win in Hawaii and get a win this weekend. We have plenty of tournaments left, and we missed on plenty of them in the middle of the season. So have no fear. The boys are here, and I feel really good about a couple of these picks. All right, let's talk football. Dude, before we get into the Super Bowl, I just got to say it. Who the fuck does Brandon Ayuk think he is? Bro, are you Hold on.
Yeah, you want to start with Brandon Ayuk? You want to go into McCaffrey? You want to go into both? Which one? Which of the? They haven't stopped crying since they left Philadelphia.
It's so goofy to me because it's a team that prided themselves on being a tough football team, playing hard-nosed football, all this bullshit. But then why is it every year you hear a team kind of like the players acting like a bitch about getting the doors blown off of them in Philadelphia?
Did Brock Purdy come into Philadelphia with a torn UCL? Did Josh Johnson come into Philadelphia with a concussion? No. Who injured Brock Purdy? The Philadelphia. They took him out of the game. Then they took out their fourth grade. Who did? It's not like they came in there handicapped. They came in there with their golden child, the third string hero. And the Eagles pass rush took him out of the game.
His first week, I was hearing comparisons to Tom Brady about Brock Purdy. And it's not even Brock Purdy's fault. The dude did what he was supposed to do and win football games for them. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan is the most overrated football coach. Yeah, he's had his success, but something's to be said about the rumors behind Jimmy G being able to suit up and not suiting up and playing for him. So there's a way that he mishandles players and clearly quarterbacks in that organization where he lost 4 of them throughout the season. And the one that's ready to go was like, nah, fuck you. I'm not playing. I'm going to go take my talents elsewhere in free agency next year. Something has to be said about that. Kyle Shanahan is a noodle.
I've never heard that press conference after the game I've never heard a coach or GM, Lynch and Shanahan were next to each other. I've never heard them respond to a question like that about Garoppolo's future as quickly. Yeah, no, right? Do you see a future with Garoppolo? No. Wow. I mean, that was just right to the point. I was very surprised at that. I mean, you're not surprised, but the way that they handled it was very telling. I thought. I don't know. I mean, if that's your right. If that's your right. We gotta move on to that, and then I'll say my piece. I've had it with this easy schedule bullshit. This is not college football, okay? This is the NFL. I for the life of me, are we debating the BCS or these are professional football players, man? I don't I hear all this shit about the Eagles' easy schedule, the easy, cakewalk through the playoffs.
The Niners had the easiest schedule in the NFL.
Who are the Eagles? Who are they supposed to play? You play who's in front of you, all that stuff, right? What are they supposed to do? They don't have any impressive wins. They don't have any quality wins right here. Who else are they supposed to beat?
Beating the shit out of the Jaguars isn't a quality win.
And they beat the shit out of a 14-3, or was it 14-3 team with Minnesota early in the year. I mean, it's just I don't know. I'm tired of that narrative, and that's why I think this Sunday is going to be even bigger after the Eagles take it to Kansas City, because I think ultimately that's probably what's going to happen.
My only concern going into Sunday, I only have one concern, which is crazy, but it's a big one. It is Patty Mack.
Yeah.
He is in my opinion, numero uno in the league right now. I don't want to hear Josh Allen's name for a long time. Until he gets to a Super Bowl, he's not in top tier conversations. He's not. It's Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Jalen hasn't. So here's my thing. People are saying that Jalen hasn't looked great in the playoffs. The Giants game, he looked phenomenal. He didn't make a single mistake. He didn't have to put up huge numbers. Niners game, he missed a couple throws. I'm going to give you guys that. But once again, he didn't have to do anything, but he killed them on third down with his legs. So a game manager, I don't think you can call someone a game manager when they are, in fact, a game breaker. In a must-stop down and distance, the dude breaks one off for 9 yards to get a crucial first down. And then you do some sucker shit and hit him 5 yards out of bounds. In the back, that's some goofball stuff. The Niners are goofballs.
Yeah, you mentioned, so how many times have we said this before? Like he is a game breaker, right? Like there's plenty of those third and longs that he broke, and just gave the Eagles an extra drive essentially throughout the year. So he has that ability, but I will agree with you that of course Patrick Mahomes is the biggest fear for any Eagles fan, for anybody back in the bird, right? Like to me, I just don't think there's much of an argument that the Eagles are top to bottom the better team across the board. They are a better roster than the Chiefs. I just don't know how you can debate that. Granted, the Chiefs have the best player on the field. So that's what concerns me.
They definitely do. Shout out to Teddy Bruschi for calling it how it really is. I was listening to him earlier this week, and he said that there's so much more pressure on the Chiefs to win this game because people crown Patrick Mahomes the GOAT, but he's only won one big NFL football game, and he has a lot of losses.
He look good. He hasn't looked good in either Super Bowl. He didn't look good in either Super Bowl.
But what he did say was this Eagles team is one of the best rosters put together that he's seen in a long time. And most importantly, they know their identity where they will dominate and bully you in the trenches. I'm not going to pat ourselves on the back because we didn't put the roster together, but we did call this in August where it was okay, the Eagles are clearly winning this division for one reason only. They are dominant in the trenches. And what has been their most dominant part of football throughout the course of the season, they're breaking records. Their entire offensive line was Pro Bowl starters or alternates, multiple All-Pros. Come on, man. The recipe's simple.
Yeah.
It's just like a nice Sunday sauce. Don't fuck it up. Dominate in the trenches, and they're playing a brand of football that the Chiefs really don't play. You're going to find out a lot about that Chiefs defense, and especially with those injuries, man, come fourth quarter, that Eagles O-line leans on you, and it's really tough to weather that storm late in the game.
Yeah, they're not playing Cincinnati's offensive line this week. They're out of Arrowhead. They're out of Arrowhead. They proved it to Arrowhead. They did it against that patchwork offensive line, but it's a completely different story now. So I think between Jones, they got a couple guys out there that can make plays and it can cause some problems. But again, when you talk about the strength of the Eagles offense, it starts up front, and they're A grades across the board. If the Eagles, to me, it starts and ends with that trench work, and I think that's how they can dominate the game. If they can control that game, if they keep doing what they're doing on both sides of those lines, and then I see this game being a win for the Birds in more than one score.
To touch on what you just brought up, first bet that I'm a big fan of, Chris Jones under a quarter sack. I don't think he gets to Jalen, and it's a huge testament to the offensive line, and I'm going to tip my cap to Jalen, and he's tough to get your hands on. He's a tough man to bring down, and he's a tough guy to get your hands on. I'm getting that at plus 105. I'm a big fan of that. The first playoff sack of Chris Jones' career was last week, and he got 2 of them. He had a huge game for them, and he does always tend to make big plays, but I for that number against that offensive line, I'm taking plus money to not get a sack pretty much across the board wherever I can get it with any Chiefs player.
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it because, like you mentioned, it wasn't until last week that he got that first sack, playoff sack, and he does step up in big moments, and I can't sit here and say the Eagles aren't or the Chiefs aren't going to touch Hurts, but I don't hate the pick either. I got to my defensive line play. If I'll come at you. My first bet is right now the only official bet I have in as of right now, but it's Hassan Reddick to score MVP at the end of the game at 35-1. I just don't see any value in the quarterbacks, and I see, if the Eagles win this game, right, which I expect them to do, you are going to have to contain at the very least Patrick Mahomes, if not completely stop that offense, which all starts with him, right? And the guy I'm looking to get that done is Hassan Reddick. He did it. He broke the game 2 weeks ago against San Francisco by taking out Purdy. He recovered the fumble in the first half. Like, the guy has just been a monster this year. Couldn't ask for anything more out of that signing. He has stepped up even more so in the playoffs. If there is a guy outside of Jalen Hurts and on the defensive end or defensive side of the ball that I would, look to snag an MVP and be Reddick. Yeah, maybe he'd have to score, but I can, if he wrecked the game like he did a couple weeks ago, I love him at 35-1.
I disagree with him having to score because I think that the Eagles' offense spreads the ball around so well
Yep,
that
Yep.
no one really has to go berserk for them. I think everybody can have a nice balanced game. They have enough weapons. All he has to do is get 2+ sacks, cause turnover, and recover it. That would really, to me, be all that he needs, honestly. I mean, 2+ sacks, forced fumble. I think that's enough.
I sign up for that. Yeah.
Mix in a couple tackles. I mean, dude's going to be all over the field. They're going to need him in a couple different places. So, I mean, that guy's been playing out of his mind, and at the number that they're giving him at, like, you might as well throw something on it. I don't view that as a bad bet at all. Interesting one. I feel like it's just like a game script bet that I like. It's Avonte Maddox at 25-1 to score the first interception. I just think that the Chiefs are going to work to the middle of the field. Do you think that he'll be on Kelsey at all?
No, I mean, not not in a single coverage situation.
Yeah.
I think. Listen, whoever is on Kelsey at the line, they're going to get help. I think ideally, what you want to see is, I would like to see a guy like Gardner Johnson on Kelsey to maybe disrupt him a little bit closer to the line, with a little bit of help, on the back end, whether that's coming from Blankenship or Epps or whoever else is out there at the time. I mean, you're going to need it's a multiple front approach there on Kelsey, and on the Travis Kelsey stuff, that's like, I mean, the guy's minus 130 to score a touchdown, right? I mean, that just speaks to, like, he is a touchdown machine. He's a machine in general. He's obviously Mahomes' favorite target. I mean, if you look at the injury report for the Chiefs, it's almost like, who is going out there for wide receiver for them when it comes time to Sunday. I don't think you need to completely, I don't think you can shut down Travis Kelsey, and I don't think you need to, to win this game. I think you need to contain him. I think you need to understand that he's going to get his touches, he's going to get his yards, but you just need to limit the damage as much as you can, because I don't see a lot of other areas where this Chiefs offense, outside of the Mahomes magic, can beat you. I mean, they're coming in without Hardman. It doesn't. I saw that. I'm not sure if Tony's going to go. I know Hardman's out. Juju Smith-Schuster is at least coming in banged up. Not that everybody.
Who cares?
Like 100%, but yeah, and even then, it's like, not the most.
It doesn't matter who that dude's throwing to. None of those guys matter, nor should they scare anybody. He's just going to make plays like he always does. Mahomes magic. I mean, he drives you nuts.
So that gets into the magic, though, right? Like, how do you stop that? What's your plan?
What's my plan?
Yeah.
Hey, I'm bringing the heat like I have been all year. I might even bring an extra one or two consistently. I'm consistently bringing bodies at him. The only way to stop him is to get to him. Do not give him time, because that he he is so good at making mediocre players look great. That dude is not only getting paid over $250 million, he has gotten a lot of other dudes paid millions of dollars that they really don't deserve. My plan is I'm trusting my corners one-on-one versus mediocre wide receivers. I'm not going to say subpar, but like some of them are. I'm trusting my corners because they're graded 1 and 2, but that's a big testament to the defensive line. But I'm also trusting that defensive line to win one-on-one matchups versus what is a inferior Chiefs O-line compared to them. They need to win one-on-one battles.
Exactly. So I wouldn't bring any more than the 5 down. I wouldn't blitz him. I don't think Gannon's gonna blitz him. I think he's even deadlier against the blitz, especially if you let him get outside the pocket. I think you need to run your 5-man front. Obviously, yeah, you got to get pressure on him, but you just got to contain him in that pocket. You can combo pressure with keeping Mahomes in the pocket. He will make mistakes. That is when he makes his mistakes, right? That magic that we see the Mahomes magic, the shit that's inexplicable, that happens when he is allowed to get outside the pocket, right? Guys start to get that. That's why you see so many of these, he rolls outside the pocket and you see so many of those wide open guys, because that's when coverage breaks down, right? That's when the defense breaks down when he gets out of the pocket. So if you can keep him inside the pocket while maintaining that pressure that they've been able to, keep up throughout the whole year at a star rate, then I think that's your best bet at, limiting Mahomes, stopping him. And that's when he's going to turn the ball over. You have to survive 2 things, I think. He's going to make one of those plays, at least one. I don't know when or how, but he's going to make one of those plays where us as Eagles fans, you're pulling your hair out, and you just can't do anything about it, right? Whether it's a flick or whatever it is. The second thing is Andy's going to have something. He's either going to run the shovel at the goal line. He's look for an early play action, whatever it is, and he's going to try one of his things too. You survive those 2 punches, or limit at least the first, that Mahomes stuff as much as you can. Keep him in the pocket. I don't see how else this team could be beaten outside of Mahomes doing, the absurd.
And then he is brought back into the GOAT conversation for the rest of the offseason. That's just naturally going to happen.
All right, I'll go sidebar. I'm tired of GOAT conversation. GOAT conversation. Everybody's a fucking GOAT now. Patrick Mahomes has played 4 or 5 years. Yeah, he's got a great string of success. But you know what? Anything can happen. I mean, Tom, until somebody sniffs 4, then leave me alone. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't.
I'm with you, dude.
Hear about it. I don't want to hear about it until somebody even gets week 3. I don't want to hear about it. Go, come on, man. You got a guy with 4 Super Bowls. You got a guy with fucking 7. Give me a break.
You don't have to tell me. You know me. I think everybody's mediocre, at all times until proven otherwise. You know how I stand with this stuff shit. Yeah. Side note, real quick. Did you watch any of the media week, which is just, dude, it's so unbearable. It's so uncomfortable. The questions that they're asking, dude, the one reporter asked Sirianni, who's one player that you wouldn't want your daughter to date? And he was like, my daughter's 6. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? And bro, what are you asking? It's like, what? All of them. Wouldn't want her to date any of them. It's like, hang around an NFL locker room long enough. What the fuck is that? But did you see the way?
The only reason anybody tunes into that stuff is if your team's in it. Otherwise, there's not even a casual interest, right? Obviously, I have NFL Network on either during the night or media night on Monday because the Birds are in it, and I've only really got to enjoy that one other time in my lifetime, right? So you're going to consume as much content as you can this week, which is great, and it's what you should do, right? Because you have all that time to build up. Enjoy it. Everybody should just be enjoying it. So I'm okay with having it on and going through everything. And I think, particularly NFL Network, they've done a pretty decent job with coverage. Shout out to our local friend Colleen Wolf over there at NFL Network. I mean, because without her, it would probably be unbearable with the national media and just like, I know it sounds typical Philly, like this and that with the national media, but it's nice to have somebody on our side out there too. So I like their coverage. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, you're just tuning in to get that content with the birds in it.
Did you see the interaction between Sirianni and Big Andy on stage? They
A
don't
little bit,
fucking
yeah.
like each other, dude. They don't like each
Wait,
other.
if you're a fellow Paisan like Nick Sirianni and you're working your ass off, Andy Reid comes in there and thanks but no thanks, right? Like, and now you have a chance to go up against him and that team in the Super Bowl. You don't think he's carrying that on shoulders? He's carrying
I'm
that
dealing him a
more than
black
he's able.
hand, bro.
Oh, and yeah, you're
Black
right.
hand, baby.
You're dead to me, right? I
Yeah,
don't care what
amen.
you did for this city. You're dead to me. Like, I don't give a shit, right? Like, I wasn't here. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, Nick, I wasn't here. You don't have any lasting relationship with me. Like, so and I love Andy Reid. We are lucky, right? Because there has been no other sustained period of success in the Eagles franchise history, other than what began with Andy Reid and has now fortunately continued in this century, right? But otherwise, that's it. There is no other sustained period of success, right? So Andy Reid deserves love and appreciation for what he did. But with that being said, I don't give Andy Reid a coaching advantage in this game. Like, we know Andy, we know his time management skills or lack thereof. We know he can fall in love with the past at inopportune times. He has his flaws too, and when they show up, it's on the bigger stages usually, right? So he's 1-2 in Super Bowls. The record in conference championships. I mean, off the top of my head, I can count. One and three, 1-4, and then you got at least two more with Kansas City. I mean, when the bigger the game gets, my point is his flaws start to come out. So I'm not so sure. As great as a coach he is, he's an all-timer. I don't think there's any particular advantage on the coaching matchup here.
I don't think that there's a coaching advantage to either side. I think that both OCs for the Eagles are prospects for head coaching jobs. So I think that has to count for something. I mean, I'm not giving an edge to either one, honestly. Both of them need what it really all boils down to. Both of them need their quarterback to take care of the football because both offenses will kill you for that. It's all it boils down to. Do not make the big mistake. I'm giving the edge to the Chiefs in that one, but I'm also giving the edge to the Eagles defense in that one. Both the cornerbacks for the Chiefs are a little banged up. Both the cornerbacks for the Eagles are awesome. The D lines aren't even comparable. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm so not worried about it, but like in the back of my mind, I am. I don't know. I'm a mess. Like the fact that I'm not concerned and I feel like they should not lose this football game really concerns me.
I don't think it should because, like I said, I think like a lot of people both in the area and outside the area. I just think I think they're clearly the better team. They're the better team. What that worry is, that concern. Again, it's the shit that you see Mahomes pull out of his ass once twice a week to get them to W. Like, that's the stuff that worries you, right? The stuff that you can't stop, right? Where you make all the right moves on the play, you get your pressure, you have your coverage, but then he gets himself enough time to make one of those plays, like, that you throw your hands up at, like I said. So, yeah, like that kind of stuff worries you a little bit because he is that special, right? Like, again, like, no, he's not the greatest of all time. Like, but yeah, I agree with you. He's the number one quarterback in the NFL right now, because of his ability to make plays almost as much as anything else. So, but I don't know. Again, like, just because of how good this Eagles team is, I don't know if that's enough because, they haven't been, invincible all year this season. Yeah, they have just as good as a record as the Eagles, and they're a great team. But I don't know. I think they have their weaknesses too, and I just think
I think the Eagles are just such a tough matchup for anybody. Question for you. Who do you think your unsung hero is? Like, who do you think who's your dark horse that the Birds need to have a big football game?
I know, unsung is tough, right? Because it's like, who's unsung at this point? You mentioned earlier about how do you spread everything around, right? All right, I'll give you one. No, I'll give you a good one. TJ Edwards.
God damn you! That was my guy too.
Well, think about it, right? Like that, on the offensive side of the ball, it's almost as if everybody has played a role in this, right? So who is unsung at this point, right? On the defensive side of the ball, we talked at length about the D line and the two cornerbacks. One of those you need one or Edwards and White have to have a huge game, especially when it comes to helping out with Kelsey in coverage, sideline to sideline coverage. I would need Edwards to have a big game. That's it.
It's funny you brought that up. I feel the exact same way, especially at that position. I think Kaiser White needs to have a big game. He's been a little quiet.
Yep,
of late. I think that he needs to. I mean, he's walking regardless. I mean, you have Nakobe Dean just tucked away. I think they're letting him go no matter what, but I think he goes out with a bang here. He's too athletic to not have a say in how this game's dictated in the passing game.
Dude, it's fun you mentioned that, and just going off of the Pittsburgh game, the only game I saw with my own eyes, other than on the television screen, the two things that stood out to me that game was just how amazing. I don't know. This is something else we can get into, whether or not the injury hurt the impact or not, but the throws that he made to Brown that game were just unbelievable. Unlike anything I've ever seen in U.S. quarterback in that stadium. I just with my eyes. On the other side of the ball, it was just White's ability to just cover sideline to sideline and be all over the play. And like you're saying, I just haven't seen that as much come through, at least on television the last couple of weeks. I know Edwards has stepped up; he's had a really good year. But yeah, I mean, you need those linebackers, that linebacking core to step up this week for sure.
Yeah, it needs to be the linebackers because that to me is their Achilles heel, but it's not really an Achilles heel; it's just their weakest point.
Edwards is still a Pro Bowler, right?
Yeah, it has to be them because the one guy that can really hurt you. To me, Travis Kelce can't kill you because he's not somebody that's going to get behind you. But he'll just get 15 here, 12 here, 17 there. He's
going to go downfield. He's going to turn around and then
he's going to be there.
I'm almost of like the philosophy, like give him that, right? Don't let him kill you after the catch, right? Yeah. Don't let him kill, like, cause he's fucking athletic, man, and he could, you see all the tape that they're showing him this week. The way he's able to stick his foot in the ground and change direction on the linebacker is unbelievable, right? And he's in the clear. So I just think if you could limit those types of plays, the ones where he's most dangerous after the catch, and like I said, just contain him to what contain him at the point of reception. I think that goes a long way. He's going to get hit, even if you give him 10 catches if they're within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Whatever it is, just don't let him kill you in the big plays. Don't let him have a chance to run after the catch. Don't let him have a chance to run against that secondary, right? With the ball in his hand. That won't work.
Are there any other, not novelty bets, but are there any other wagers that you wouldn't see on a regular NFL Sunday that you're a big fan of this week?
Ooh. No, not really. I'm not getting too exotic. That's for sure. To be boring, I just not going to be too exotic. Like I mentioned before we came on, like the one thing about the Super Bowl is I just think you can't read into this market. It's so sharp. It's saturated to the point, beyond the point of return when it gets time to spin. You're at 60-40 right now on the spread and the total. You're at 60-40. I mean, to me, it's not telling me much. So no, I don't have anything too exotic. I mean, a couple, like I said, so but you do have to go outside just to spread the total. I think to find any value. So we mentioned the MVP bets and some others there. I like Miles Sanders to hit his prop at 60.5 yards on the ground. I also like defensive touchdowns for the Birds at plus 600. I like that as well. So there's a couple things here and there. And then, like I said, come on. So here's one for you, Mike. 20% of the Super Bowls, or around 20, give or take a little over 20% of the Super Bowls have been within one score. To me, this is not a one-score game. You know, to any bettor out there, I would say whoever you like, I would lay the 6.5, take a touchdown or more. I'm going to play the Eagles at all line escalators. I'll go 6.5 and maybe a little sprinkle at 9.5 too, because that's how I see the game going. I don't think it's going to be a one-score game.
That's how you feel.
Yeah. Again, like if I was a Chiefs backer, I would, or if I like the Chiefs, I would do the same thing. I just again, out of 56 Super Bowls, just to click over 20% or so, right? It just doesn't happen. It happens less, than it does. So, less often than not. So, I like a touchdown or more victory for the Birds.
I like that too. I think, to me, before we get off, to me, it break football down to its simplest form. It's a West Coast brand that's had to grit it out with teams that don't play gritty football versus the grittiest team in football that has not had to grit it out with really anybody when it's really mattered. And as a matter of fact, they've beaten the dog shit out of everyone they've played in every game that's mattered by doing what they do, and it's just bullying you. I saw all 5 dudes on that offensive line ragdolling the so-called defensive player of the year. Like, come on, man. Chris Jones is not Nick Bosa either. Chris Jones is a nice player. He is not Nick Bosa.
I told you after that game, no matter who the Birds were playing, whether it's Cincinnati, you're not going to see a defense like San Francisco. That's the best defense you're going to play all year. Hands down. It is the best.
Second best in the league.
They're the best in the league. So, depending on whatever metric go, they're one of the best in the league. Kansas City doesn't even come close. They're middle of the pack defense. They are. They're 15th ranked defense. That's just what they are. They're not a Super Bowl winning defense. You have, like I said, probably the best player in the league right now, which is a big part of their success. Okay, again, best player in the league. Give them that. Defense is not going to be like what you saw against San Francisco. Contain Mahomes. Brandon Graham said it. He said it on media, right? Like, the most important thing, you want to talk about media, the most important thing I took away? Brandon Graham knows. Stay in your rushing lane. Stay disciplined in those lanes. Get the pressure. Keep him in the pocket. And he'll make mistakes. And we're going to win this game by more than a touchdown.
That's all it comes down to. Yeah, I'm excited. It's such a different vibe between this one and 17. Like, 17, it was like, what a whirlwind of a season. This one, when did we start talking? Preseason, we were talking about there's big expectations for this team. And then after like a week or two of football, it was like, oh shit, like they are the best team in the NFL. Really, there's not a debate.
They're set up for the future too. Like, so just quickly, like we talked about that in the beginning of the year because, like I said, schedule talk. It's not, strength or whatever. The NFC is just not good. It's not good.
It's not good.
It's just not a strong conference. All the best, your next generation quarterbacks are all in the AFC. Jalen Hurts has had an MVP caliber season. He may even win a Super Bowl, but this is 1 year's worth of work. Okay? And then outside of Jalen Hurts, there's nobody that has showed that kind of ceiling in the NFC. Really, there isn't any. All of your studs, they're all in the AFC. The conference, next year with Hurts still being on a rookie deal, it is set up for the Eagles. It was set up for them to succeed this year, and it's set up for them next year. And then after that, that's going to be Howie's greatest trick. It's how he puts together a roster with another franchise quarterback.
That is. Let's worry about that one when we get there.
We got lots of them.
Let's worry about Sunday. That's really all I have going into it. man, I don't show excitement. I'm beyond excited. I've been building up this excitement for months now because now it's been expected. Like, you can't get excited for what's expected. I'm expecting them to win. And some goofball ass Sirianni, is this a must-win football game? It's like, yeah, no shit, it's a must-win football. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? It's a must-win football game. I'm gonna start to like lose my mind tomorrow. Like this morning on the car ride into work, I was starting to get a little antsy and thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's like it's starting to really settle in. Come Saturday, I'm gonna be a nut job like pacing around the house.
You know, if it wasn't for the waste management,
God bless the Waste Management Open.
You could put some attention and energy into something that's not the Super Bowl leading, for the weekend leading up. So, yeah, thank God for that. But, yeah.
God bless the Waste Management. Official card going out this evening, early tomorrow morning. For those of you that listen, those are all the official plays. Yeah, Rob, go Birds, baby.
Go Birds. Go Birds.
Go Birds.